Welcome to this week's astrology. This is a week where we're on the precipice of some pretty big astrology coming from next week as Neptune and Saturn move closer and closer to one another, and they're going to be hovering around the Venus star point from March, April this year. It's a very sensitive point in all of our charts. I'm going to talk about more about that next week. This week, it feels like a really big week for understanding where your motivation is coming from. There's going to be a lot happening with Mars Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And there can be a lot of tension around the direction that you're heading in life, whether you're doing the right thing, whether it feels like you're taking a step backwards when you should be somewhere else or further ahead in whatever it is, whatever story that the mind is telling. And so it's a week to consider where your motivation comes from. I often use the analogy of like a car. So to describe this. So there's kind of like if you think of we're vehicles, right? We're vehicles through which the divine expresses its will within the world. And sometimes we load ourselves up with dirty fuel. And that dirty fuel is like the need to impress other people, the need to be seen as successful in the eyes of society, the need for a pay rise, the need for a promotion, the need to prove myself. And all of these things come from the fundamental belief that you are not enough, that you aren't good enough. And not being good enough, it drives us pretty hard and it gets us to perform some incredible feats in our lives that otherwise we wouldn't. It can have us working crazy hours. It can have us placing our career ahead of anything else in our lives or placing a relationship ahead of anything else in our lives. It can have us spending money on ludicrous things. It can have us showing up for people who would never show up for our funeral. All of this stuff, all to prove that we are good enough. And it's like anytime that good enough energy is at play, and it can be very subconscious, like the ego is so smart and so sneaky. Um, and it can be quite joyful in trying to like work out the ego's games. But anytime there's that energy of not good enough, guaranteed we are running on dirty fuel. And although we can push ourselves to highs in our life, what happens is our health will suffer. Our adrenal system normally gets pretty whacked around by it. We're exhausted, but we push through even through exhaustion. And that can look like drinking insane amount of caffeine or drinking alcohol to numb from the feeling that like this isn't right. And there's this general feeling of like when we're operating on that dirty fuel, it's that sense that like we're giving, 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 giving. And we get to the point where we're just burnt out and we got nothing more to give because nothing we are doing is recharging our battery. It's all coming from that lack that I don't think I'm good enough and therefore I've got to do this. And that dirty fuel is often coming, like, it's very much associated with the planet Mars, right? Mars is about will and drive, and that dirty fuel is like my will. Like, I will exert my will because I have to. And, like, we've all driven on dirty fuel, and we'll all drive on dirty fuel in the future. And it's okay. It's a part of the human experience to have that sense of what it is to be driven by external expectations, by trying to prove ourselves to other people. And this week is drawing our attention in a really big way because Mars is in its most debilitated degree, which will be on mm, 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 on Friday? No, on Thursday. Thursday, but we'll be feeling it Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He'll be at his most debilitated degree in Cancer. And so it can be really a great time to reflect. Mars is weakened. He's not kind of sure what he's doing. And you might have noticed over this year, because Mars has spent an inordinate amount of time in Gemini and Cancer so far, but a lot of time in Cancer where he's been debilitated. And you can find that that dirty fuel is kind of like, maybe I should just go back to what I was doing. Maybe that would be easier than doing something new. Um, as well as like, I need to prove myself. There can be also confusion around what it is you're even here to do. That all said, pay attention. Pay attention to when you notice that sense of like, I'm not good enough, or even the sense of exhaustion. You will feel it on Thursday if you haven't felt it already. That sense of exhaustion of like, I just don't know. Like, I just don't know. And almost getting to that point of like, I've I'm getting to the place of I just have nothing left to prove. There's nothing more I can do, because it's almost like that kind of rat race energy. Like, it's got me spinning circles. That is to contrast with an experience that is also available to all of us, which is when we marry our will with the divine's will. And you can find this is also a week to explore and get really conscious. And Thursday will make it very obvious the areas in your life which do this, where there's ease, where even though you have to put effort into something, be that a friendship, be that cooking, be that caring for kids, be that meditating, whatever it is, or going to a yoga class, there is a level in which that exertion of energy is immediately paid back, or there is a sense in which there is an ease and flow, and it's almost like you're running on a cleaner fuel, because you're not having to prove anything to anyone. It's not coming from needing external approval. It's not coming from that I'm not good enough. It's almost from that place of like, I'm okay. I have energy to give, or this gives me energy. This gives me a sense of deep purpose and deep alignment. And before I make it sound like it's bad when we're not in alignment, I just want to preface by saying, like, it's okay when we're not in alignment. It's still part of the divine's plan, even when we have those moments where where we're like, what the hell am I even doing? Or this isn't paying off, or I don't even know what I'm here to do, or I don't know how to get out of that rat race. It's okay. That's all part of the human experience, because at the end of the day, it's actually not about getting anywhere. There's, like, the beautiful analogy of, like, the rabbit and the turtle, or tortoise, that would be right. I think we've all heard that, like, Aesop's fable, the race between the two, how the rabbit, like, races to the end and the tortoise takes it slow and steady and gets there. What if you consider that within you, there is the rabbit that is always racing, that is always trying to prove that it is more than it doesn't think it's enough, so it's always trying to prove that it's more. And then there's the tortoise. And the tortoise is cool just with how things are. The tortoise can just accept in any moment. That's what the divine has given, that I'm exactly where I am and there's no mistakes. And I feel like this is a week, if you can, it will make the astrology much easier if you can accept that there's nowhere to get, and that embodying that like tortoise energy, and that can be being patient with the universe, trusting that there is a divine timing, even though you're in a rabbit might be like, let's get this done right now, I'm ready to go. Like, I've got something to prove. It's almost like, well, what if there's nowhere to get? What if every experience is just there to help us step into realization of the self? And what if we could just enjoy each moment, even the moments where we feel we have something to prove? What if we were like really awake to those moments and we could just entertain them and see them for what they are? So that's a long way of saying that like Mars is really important this week. And you can find there are big questions around your drive. If you have been noticing that you're already feeling burnt out, Thursday, when Mars is at its point of debilitation, it's also going to be Gandanta, which means it's basically hitting a karmic knot in the chart. There's something that needs to be resolved that you've had a hard time resolving this year that will be coming to a head. And that Gandanta point will be active from the 5th of June until the 8th. So just pay attention if you feel really uneasy. Like even if you've just made a decision recently on like maybe a new path you want to walk or a new career or a new living situation, whatever it is, just don't be surprised if there are doubts that come up, if there are questions in what you've done. And I would be saying Thursday, Friday, Saturday is not a time to make a decision. It's not a time to think, I'm going to overhaul everything and do something different. It's a time to go in, to listen to that tortoise, the slow and steady, the one that knows it's already where it needs to be, and hook into that energy. And if you notice that, like that inner voice, which is like, you've got something to prove, like you need to be doing more of X, Y, and Z, listen and then come back to this slow and steady inner voice. It will serve you really, really well because the energy coming up this week, it's not easy. But I want to say at the same time, it's really powerful in that next week, as Mars is moving out of Cancer into Leo, things are going to get much easier with knowing what action to take. And think of the end of this week as like giving you what you need to be patient, to be really clear on where you want to head, and also just to be okay with not knowing and taking the breadcrumbs that the universe gives you. So just know there'll be more clarity next week, but enjoy the tension this week. Now, that all said, I'll quickly mention, because I've kind of spoken a lot about Mars, it's really big. Today, Magdalena is conjunct Jupiter. It's a really beautiful mix. You might find that there's like a sense of like the miraculous taking place today. Things that you didn't think could happen, conversations you didn't think would ever come up, meeting teachers, whatever that looks like, who can bring about, yeah, like certain miracles. So really pay attention because very often we miss the miracles in our life. We're looking for something really grand and big, and it's they can be really simple and really profound at the same time. And it's almost like they're asking for us to pay attention to them, even when they're small. Tomorrow, Venus is going to be conjunct Chiron, and the moon is going to be in a bit of a bit of an emotional spot in the sky, which is nice. Actually, it really helps with the Venus conjunct Chiron energy, and that can bring up a sense of abandonment. Like I don't mean for this week to be heavy, but I'm just gonna give it. Um, Venus conjunct Chiron can bring up the abandonment wound. We all hold it. It is not unique. We all believe in some way, shape, or form we've been abandoned by someone in our life, be that a parental figure, be that a lover, be that a sister, a brother, a friend, a family member. Ultimately, it's actually about our relationship to the divine and to God and the belief that we are separate from them. This can be a beautiful time just to tune in to that little heart and really like listen if it is feeling a bit tender, if it does need some of your love, if maybe it needs you to take it out on a date to remind it that like love is right here. Just pay attention. You can find as well that the mind is just a little bit emotional. It can bring up a lot of old stuff to do with that abandonment wound just on Monday, though. So it will pass quite quickly, but you can use it. Like it's the perfect energy to use just to tune into the self. Tuesday, Mercury is entering Mrigashira. It's sitting in Gemini. No, it's sitting in Taurus. Sorry. It'll be entering Mrigashira. Um, on Tuesday, and it will be there till the 9th of June. And Mrigashira sits across, it's actually Orion, and well, it's part of the Orion constellation, and it sits across Taurus and Gemini. And this is a period of searching. You can find that your conversations this week are really about learning new things, being really open to new information from the people that you meet, and almost like you're just trying to absorb the world. You can also find that there are just questions that are not meant to have answers this week, that it's more like you're in a state of collecting information about the world. Tuesday is a really big day as well for relationships. If you're in relationship or it's the start of a relationship, something's going on in that area, you can find that it's a really beautiful day for commitment, for reaffirming commitment, for love. And that will kind of run. Tuesday will be really big, but Wednesday through Thursday as well. And you can find Wednesday, Thursday, it's more about the commitment you have to your friendships. Tuesday, it's more about like those soul, intimate, even business connections, but um Wednesday, Thursday is more about friendships. Like I've already mentioned, Thursday, it's difficult with Mars. One of the things I would mention on Thursday through to Friday is just do your best not to meddle with what comes up. We all have these like internal hands that like to come out and they like to like correct situations. Like it should be like this, not like that. What if you use those internal hands to like open them up to receive instead of thinking you need to manipulate a situation to make it work for you? Just trust the universe is going to work this thing out for you. And if you meddle with it, it's almost like you're just causing yourself more anguish than you need to. So that's this week. Like I said, next week I'm going to talk a lot about the movements with Saturn and Neptune. I'll quickly mention there is a full moon coming up in Scorpio. It's going to be Gandanta. Jayeshta is the nakshatra, the lunar mansion in Scorpio that it's in, and it will be peaking next week on the 10th to the 11th. I will put details up to join that full moon ritual and reading if you're interested, or you can join the lunar subscription, the ritual and reading subscription. If you want to work more intensely with the new and full moons, the ritual and reading always includes a reading based on your chart that's personally written by me with like what exactly is going on in your chart for this moon, astrology forecast, and a sacred practice for you to work with it. I'll also mention as well that the Goddess Mystery School is now open. You can sign up on the link below if you want to explore the world of the asteroids, the Goddess asteroids. That is there for you. I hope you have a wonderful week. And I know this forecast is a little bit longer than normal, but enjoy the Mars energy.